Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the franchise discussion category. This video will be dedicated to the recap and thoughts for issue 2 of the Young Justice tie-in comics, Monkey Business. We begin this issue at Mount Justice on July 8th, where Superboy is starting to regain consciousness, and he sees that he's tied up and next to Snapper, who's also tied up. He also sees that the Joker is preparing to set a trap for the Justice League. Later on, Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Hawkman all arrive within the cave of Mount Justice, and they see that there's a surprise banner and a giant present in the middle of the room that they're currently in. Flash thinks that maybe Snapper called them in for a surprise party, but Martian Manhunter and Hawkman are much more suspicious about what's going on. And Flash is about to open the present, but Batman arrives and stops him from doing so. But whatever was in the present bursts out of the present by themselves, and we see that it's various green monkeys with, they seem to be wearing metal backpacks. The Joker soon reveals himself, and he says that lax security, courtesy of Snapper, is how he was able to sneak into Mount Justice. And Batman frees Snapper and Superboy, although many of the characters seem to barely, if at all, recognize Superboy's presence or acknowledge Superboy's presence. And during the fight, other members of the Justice League arrive, and it's notable that even though the members that arrive are not the entire members of the Justice League, as we saw in episode 2, Fireworks, but Joker's choice of words suggests that the entire Justice League has arrived. As the fight continues on, we do see that these metal backpacks that the green monkeys are wearing have explosives or bombs in them, and the green monkeys are setting off these bombs during the fight. And as the fight is going on, when these bombs explode, the explosion causes Superboy to get flung towards one of the Zeta tubes, and the computer shouts out Superboy's designation. And Superboy realizes something. The computer had just said his designation just now, but the computer didn't declare the designations of the present Justice League members when they arrived. And just to make sure that what he's thinking is really the case, he grabs a hold of Aquaman and he tosses Aquaman towards the Zeta tube, but the computer doesn't shout Aquaman's designation, and Superboy realizes the computer only responds to individuals that are actually present, which means the other characters present are merely illusions. He punches the ground in response to this, and when he does so, though, not only do the illusions disappear, but Superboy finds out what caused the illusions in the first place. It's a genomorph, and the genomorph proceeds to show images into Superboy's mind, and Superboy finds out that this particular genomorph was the one that gave Superboy information while he was in his pod in Cadmus. And he soon finds out through these images, because the genomorph can't actually talk, but he eventually pieces together that the genomorph came to find Superboy because it missed him. At a later point in time, Miss Martian and Red Tornado eventually return, and Superboy is filling Red Tornado in about what he experienced with the illusions. Red Tornado figures that the genomorph must have entered Mount Justice sometime before the security system was installed, and Superboy admits he figured that much. What he doesn't understand is, why did the illusions feel real to him even though they were just illusions. Red Tornado describes it as, I believe he describes it as perception from a distance. But what he explains is that the events that Superboy saw in the illusion, they were real events. Those events really did happen in Mount Justice in the past. And Red Tornado explains that the Genomorph picked up on the psychic residue of these events. And because of the Genomorph's bond with Superboy, Superboy and the Genomorph's bond is especially powerful. It's an especially powerful bond. So this, combined with the psychic residue still being rather prevalent, led to Superboy's mind making these illusions feel real, even though they were just illusions. And Red Tornado says it's a good thing that Superboy picked up on the illusions and put a stop to them when he did, because if he engaged with the illusions any further, it could have caused it would have caused some potentially dangerous harm to Superboy if he engaged any further. And Red Tornado says that he'll return the Genomorph back to Cadmus, so he leaves to do just that. Miss Martian comments that the experience must have been something else that Superboy just experienced, and she questions if Superboy learned anything from this experience, and Superboy says yes, he has. He hates monkeys, and that's how we end the issue. So this is part 2 of the story that started in the previous issue. And like I mentioned in the previous issue's video, this issue did clarify exactly what caused the Justice League to abandon Mount Justice. And yes, as Red Tornado clarified, the events in the illusion really did happen in the past. And yes, that was the event. The Joker had tricked Snapper into unwillingly leading him to Mount Justice, and that's what led to the Justice League abandoning Mount Justice and eventually setting up the Hall of Justice as their base of operations, or their public base of operations, I should say, because the Watchtower is their actual base of operations, but I digress. And for those who were curious, you may have noticed when I talked about a character in Superboy and Miss Martian's eventual teacher, at least starting with the episode Targets, I would refer to this character as Lucas Snapper Carr, and the boy in the illusions is known as Snapper. So yes, for those who didn't pick up on that, Lucas Snapper Carr and Snapper, the boy in the illusions, are indeed the same person, just that Snapper is, of course, younger, and Lucas Carr is his current age, at least as of the present of the TV series. And Greg Weisman did clarify that Superboy simply didn't make the connection between Snapper and Lucas Carr. That's why Superboy didn't recognize his teacher as the older version of the boy he saw in the illusions. And this issue also did reveal the reason why Superboy hates monkeys. He had a bad encounter with monkeys thanks to this particular illusion. And once again, that kind of reaffirms what I like about the tie-in comics. They help to fill in the blanks of details that might not be explicitly explained in the episodes of the TV series itself. So it's nice to have those little tidbits or details of information, or having the option to learn more about them. It goes along with Greg Weisman's statements. He says you can watch the TV series without reading the tie-in comics, and you can read the tie-in comics without watching the TV series, but you get a much fuller experience when you watch the TV series and read the tie-in comics. And I do see where he's coming from with those statements. And, this is an important detail I should mention. The title Monkey Business does get reused in a later issue of the tie-in comics. So, yes, there are 2 issues within the tie-in comics that have the title Monkey Business. You'll, of course, know which issue that is when we eventually get to the recap and thoughts video for that particular issue. So, that's just a heads up for anyone that there isn't a mistake. Monkey Business actually is reused as a title in an upcoming issue. And to be fair, they both, it's understandable why both issues use the title Monkey Business. It's understandable why. And otherwise, yeah, Joker, yeah, because of the illusions, that means this is, I guess you could say that Joker's appearance in this issue and the previous issue were unofficial appearances. And by unofficial, I mean Joker, as he appeared in these issues, was not the real Joker, merely an illusion. So Revelation, or the episode Revelation is the formal or official appearance of Joker in the Young Justice tie-in comics. And though it wasn't really until Revelation where people actually shared their thoughts about Joker as a character. I know some people weren't happy with his design with the tie-in comics, but it seemed to be the episode Revelation which really was what led to the debate over this particular version of the Joker. But that's a little tidbit, I digress. But otherwise, like I said, I do think that these early issues are focusing on Superboy because I think it's going along with how season 1 of the series seemed to have Superboy as the audience surrogate, in the sense that he was the character who was learning more about the Earth-16 universe, much like how an audience member who's starting off with the Young Justice TV series from the beginning is learning about the Earth-16 universe. So I think that's my hunch about why Superboy was the focus for these early issues. But I should mention the next issue actually will focus on different characters besides Superboy, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So otherwise, I guess that's about it for now, actually. I think we covered the essentials for this particular issue, but I thought it was, like I said, it was nice that they covered details that were only really hinted at or just barely acknowledged in the TV series proper. And I do admit, actually, it was kind of heartwarming how the Genomorph that gave Superboy information actually missed him. I thought that was actually pretty heartwarming in a way. And otherwise, it was nice to learn a little bit more of history about Earth-16 or the Earth-16 universe. Like, we found out what caused the Justice League to abandon Mount Justice originally, and we do actually get to find out who the members of the Justice League were at the time of that particular incident. And otherwise, I think that's it now. There we go. As of this video, we've now discussed issue 2 of the Young Justice tie-in comics on this channel. Take care, and until next time.